looking like, my God, I've seen this stuff forever. So this is a man that set the precedence for how we would kind of come to think of many things we know. That's part of the reason we're all a little bit like, wow, can't believe he's here. But nevertheless, there he is right over Richard's shoulder, telling us the history of this world as we step into this movie.
So we have we open up on a tree. Mm-hmm. I was expecting Ape to like pop up between the trees somewhere. We open up on a tree, and then kind of this pan shot over this some more trees into like a little bit of a creek as we hear this ape, possibly lawgiver's voice, kind of over all this. And it's that same kind of serene opening we've had in previous movies, but there's just something just not really dramatic about even the serene shot of like the ocean, before the helicopter comes around. It feels cheap. I mean, it feels like a cheap opening.
I don't disagree with that. I'd not really thought about the way it opened being rather flat, because you want a film to have a statement. You want it to say something. And you're right. This film just sort of goes, here we go, in the beginning.
Very soft opening to it, yeah.
But I mean, the others have had kind of a little bit of a serene start from here to there that moved into something dramatic within seconds, within the first minute, right?
Right.
The helicopters coming around the water, things like that, and then the titles and the crash of the spaceship and so on. But so we have this kind of speech. This, in the beginning, God created man and beast so that both might live in friendship and share the dominion over the world. A fullness of time of evil. Evil men betrayed God's trust, and in defeating his holy word, waged bloody wars not only against their own kind, but also against apes. So, all right. So when we last left the last film, there was an ape rising in a single city. And we had kind of wondered how we get to a nuclear holocaust from here, right?
Yeah.
Mm-hmm. And so wherever we left off in the last movie with the ape uprising, the lawgiver is now telling us that men then waged war against their own kind. So there was something happening outside of just the ape uprising. I left the last film thinking the apes were uprising right now.
The apes are uprising, yeah. Well, depending on which version of the movie you were watching, our version, the war was going to start right now with the apes. In the actual theatrical version, I don't remember how that one ended.
So whatever else is happening in this world, whatever happened to the city that Breck was in control of, there was some other conflict that was going on that then became wars, or wars after. I'm questioning about, like, there's like multiple conflicts happening here, and I understand the complexity of society in which we can have, a conflict in Iran while still having internal, civil war issues here within our own country, and coup attempts, and how these things can be unrelated but affect everything. But it's just kind of a weird, like, okay, how are we getting to this point? Where are we jumping to? Men are fighting with men, but they're also fighting with apes.
Fighting with apes, yeah.
So real quick to tell how this works, this film had limited locations. What we're talking about at this point was shot on the Fox Ranch in Malibu, so that should right away tell you we're already cutting the budget. We're already trying to save money. If they can,
not going on location. Yeah.
That's right. If we can call in a favor to a famous director and we can get him to stand on the ranch and we can turn the camera on, then we're already going. So the entirety of this, when we question even what it is that they're trying to convey to us, who's fighting who, whatnot, it hits me as very biblical in its approach. It hits me as, to Richard's point, very flat. It hits me as though we're speaking down to the audience. That's really the tone that I got. Okay, who are they speaking to when you construct something like this at the first of a film? Are they thinking that somebody walked into this theater having never seen an Apes film before?
Well, that was going to be my comment and or question, because this is the first movie. I mean, we're 5 deep into it, but this is the first movie that has done any sort of flashback / recap of at least the previous 2 movies.
Yeah, that was going to be my comment about, when we get into the clips we're actually seeing. I'll bring it up then as well, but they only really chose 2 movies to kind of go over.
Yeah, they didn't go all the way back to in the beginning. There was the Planet of the Apes, and humans lived there. And
so, are they assuming the first movie everybody saw, the second movie they're trying to bury, and the third and fourth nobody saw, but they need to bring back its history? We'll talk about that when we get to tomorrow. But But anyway, so then we have a cut flashback to Escape, right? And he mentions Zero and Cornelius. He doesn't give them by name, but he said parents from the Earth's future. We hear young Caesar give a little cry, and then for some reason we have Cornelius saying, "Come on!" I don't know why that audio clip was thrown in there.
Well, let me also ask.
Well,
don't we have him? Don't they mention God's wrath? Isn't that the
God's trust and deviance, holy war, waged bloody wars against apes and they reduced to slavery. Then God in his wrath sent the world a savior.
I thought that juxtaposition, God in his wrath sent a savior. That's a weird thing to say. His wrath.
Yeah, I'm so angry at you. Here's how you're going to take care of it.
Well, he's mad at man,
right?
So he's mad at man for slavery of the apes, mad at man for the wars they're doing. So they send a savior. They send Caesar back. So the lawgiver's already telling us that Caesar is considered a messiah by his time in 2670.
But here's what I want to know. That he talks about the birth being miraculous. Why is it miraculous? If they had not gone back in time and the earth didn't blow up in the future, they would have just had a kid. And that's not a miracle. That's just called the circle of life, having a kid. So it's not
the miracle is not there.
The miracle is that they're back in time. The miracle is not the birth.
Well, I mean, maybe we'll take the fact that he's like the prophet, and so he's kind of embellishing things a little bit. I could see some of these choices of words, miraculous and wrath, just kind of being his way of instilling his philosophy and belief upon, future generations of what happened at this moment.
It can be like people, when you watch the movie 300 and you see the Persians or, these beautiful, well-built men, and then all the enemies look like monsters and they're hideously scarred or missing arms, or they're just, what you're hearing in that story is actually the one guy who survived and left. He's telling the story. So he's making sure the good guys are all built up and the bad guys are all monsters because they're about to go fight a war. Well, from the lawgiver's perspective, everything that he's telling us, it might have been the previous two movies, and we're now just hearing it, but it's all embellished from his point of view to build up apes as better and humans as monsters.
Yeah.
And if this world had existed with Tenet, would they see themselves walking backwards as they went into the world and went back in time?
Did you watch that movie?
I watched it yesterday, actually.
Okay,
and
I did. All right, so we'll talk about it later on. We didn't finish it.
Okay.
So there was an interesting audio shift. We have him kind of talking in an auditorium at the beginning when we were seeing the painting of the forest, and then we actually get him the audio shifts to actually something like we're hearing off of his mic.
Yeah, they changed it up.
I thought that was a weird choice to go from that kind of echo auditorium effect. Yeah, get to him to have it in person.
I had that same kind of note. The choice of when to use the echo makes no sense. Houston should have had it as if he's the voiceover instead of what they're saying.
Well, I almost didn't
making them echo.
I almost didn't need to see Houston. I mean, as a godlike figure, I didn't need him to see him physically just reading a scroll by a creek.
Well, that's, part of his one. It's part of his contract. If I'm going to be in this goddamn makeup, you're going to shoot me for a little bit.
I mean, well, no. I mean, I would have liked to have seen him, but it's kind of like this voice of prophet, this voice of God, this angel that's speaking to us about what's going on. To put him simply by a stream with a scroll, have him sitting down in front of a bunch of ape children. Have him.
I can see that.
Have him sitting on a cloud. I don't know, just something to make it feel more. Yeah, do very Monty Python. He's animated up there.
It is a weird choice with how echoey it is, because he's not even in a big enough canyon to really get this sound. Right. We should hear more of the creek sounds. It should be more natural if that's what you're going for. But I like the idea of just his voice. Mm-hmm. If it had just been, and then because the lawgiver can be the storyteller. It's that same kind of thing. And if they had done that with the children as just a final payoff of doing this, that might have been an interesting way to go. But yeah, you're kind of right. It's like, why is he here? What's going on? And why does he sound like he has a tin can that he's talking into?
We could even see this gigantic, big, booming voice over this creek. And then as we get to him, he is over a writing desk with a pen, and we never see his lips move. We just hear his voice.
Yeah, it could have been a Bilbo Baggins type situation, you know? You look at the beginning of the Lord of the Rings films and how that begins with him trying to write the book. That might have been interesting here as well.
Yeah, it's just for such a powerful figure, just to have him standing by a creek by himself with reading a little piece of scroll that was a little...
For all of, 30 seconds.
Right.
Yeah.
All right, I think that's the first minute in a nutshell, and plus Zoom is telling us that we're reaching our time limit, so I'm trying to push us against it. We will be back tomorrow with another minute, and if you don't know that scenario, we come back every day and give you another minute of these movies. For Richard and Sean, I'm Todd. Everyone have a great day, and we'll see you tomorrow.
Bye.
Bye, everybody.
The minute of the apes. The minute